They take on and overcome the most daunting terrain Australia has to offer, struggling on slippery trails choked with dust, squirming on ice, speeding on the edge of the unknown. Then they must overcome each other, drivers, crews, manufacturers, and their sophisticated but brutal motorsport machines. There is nothing quite like the Australian Rally Championship, and it catches fire today in Western Australia. The Respect Yourself Forest Rally. Welcome to the timber town of Nannup in the southwest of Western Australia, home base for the Respect Yourself Forest Rally, round 1 of 5 in the Australian Championship. Now this is the main street of Nannup, would you believe, converted to a massive service park for the Forest Rally, and over the next hour we'll take you not only on the trails but inside the inner workings of this exceptional form of motorsport. Talking about exceptional Possum Bourne chasing 6 consecutive national titles this year. He's armed with a brand new Subaru Impreza World rally car. It was campaigned by Juha Kankkunen in the World Championship last year. He loves the car, but he hasn't had a lot of time to develop it on the road. By contrast, Neil Bates, who's been the runner-up for the past 5 years, is sticking with his Toyota Corolla World rally car, but he's refined it and is very, very confident. Just behind them, the leading Group N competitors, Ed Ordinsky and Cody Crocker, and in all, a field of 64 for the Forest Rally. A very, very popular rally it is, as Alison Drower explains.
There's something about the landscapes of the southwest of Western Australia where the contrasts offer an adventure that is difficult to resist. Wide open spaces, endless kilometres of pristine coastline, and ancient forests, a reminder of just how old this planet of ours really is. Round 1 of the ARC Super Series takes us 230 kilometres south of Perth to the shoreline of Geograph Bay and the town of Busselton. Its most famous icon, the longest wooden jetty in the southern hemisphere. Busselton is where all the rally teams bed down after a hard day of dust busting, and this weekend we're front page news, of course, and the rally is the buzz of Busselton. So what's Busselton normally like?
Very, very quiet, very docile. Most things shut at 9.
Well, I think it adds a sense of excitement, fun, which, you know, is really good for people that live here as well as visitors.
What do you know about rallying?
Cars going fast around tracks in the bush.
You've got to be a bit mad, don't you think?
It'd have to be a little bit crazy, I reckon, eh?
Yeah, get down every year, go and have a look, run around the bush.
What do you think of the drivers?
Not too bad. I reckon we could show them something, too. Come out with us when the bush acts, like.
Are you just amazed at just the speeds they can reach through the forest?
Absolutely, yeah. Through the gravel and between all the trees, it's amazing. Crazy, I reckon. I wouldn't do it.
Yep, not too many crazy folks in any sort of a hurry here, but it's beyond Busselton where the action is, just down this highway. Well, there's one question that we often ask ourselves when we're out covering a rally, and that is, where the hell are we? Well, round 1 of the Australian Rally Championship brings us to about 3 hours south of Perth to the little town of Nannup. And when rally arrives, the locals don't know what's hit them. If you thought Busselton was pretty laid back, you've almost got to check the pulse on the 1,200 or so folks who live in Nannup. Oh, except Mick Forster, who owns the local pub. He knows exactly what rally weekend's all about.
Welcome to Nannup! A lot of action, a lot of influx of visitors from all over Australia, and a heck of a lot of fun.
And a lot of dust, an awful lot of thick red WA dust that coats the throat and keeps your eyes constantly watering. But really, if it wasn't for this gorgeous little town of Nannup, this rally show would never get off the road.
The main street we're sitting next to at the moment will become the service park, so we've actually shut down the town for 2 days, and without the support of the locals allowing us to do that would be just another rally out in the bush.
Which is really where it all happened. 17 competitive stages within 3 to 20 kilometres of Nannup, a 2-day motorsport invasion of one small town with a big dose of good old Aussie bush hospitality.
A beautiful part of Australia, but of course it is the anchor round for the various challenges on the National Championship. And Ed Ordinsky's team right behind me is just one, looking forward to an exceptional season.
The Corolla's certainly a lot better than what it's ever been. I'm extremely happy with the car, and it just you know, it's a matter of how fast Possum's new weapon is, and we'll just have to go and try and beat him.
You look like a kid with a new toy with your car. How's
I
it
am
going?
a kid with a new toy with a car. It's awesome. It's just taken a little bit of getting to grips with. You know, when you get anything new, it takes a little while to become at one with it. So this weekend is our learning weekend, if you like, in competition and almost learning full stop, because we haven't had a lot of time in the car. So we've got our fingers crossed that we've got everything sorted.
It's interesting this year because there's a lot of new people in new cars, and Ed's got a brand new car like we have. And so that's definitely going to be, I think it'll be the major competition. But you've also got Dean, but he's sort of, I guess he's almost backing us up in the Group N Subaru, which is great to see, sort of semi-factory support, if you like. So I guess there's going to be a lot of competition there. Martin Lintot's got our old car from last year, so there's quite a few drivers out there with a good chance.
The key is still, the aim is to win the Australian Privateers title. We've won 2 Victorian titles in the last 2 years. Obviously we've stepped up to bigger and better things, and that's the main aim for the season.
Chasing in the Respect Yourself Forest Rally, and there are plenty of different cars doing the chasing as well. A variety of makes and, of course, types of cars in the National Championship, and John Smales explains different drivetrains at work as well.
When you come right down to it, traction is what makes a rally car go fast, and the more traction you've got, the faster you go. Now, Paul Pavera's Holden Utility won the Aussie car class last year. It puts almost 200 horsepower to the ground through the back wheels only. You'd reckon with a utility that's got very little weight at the rear of the car, that'd be hard to do. The secret here is the suspension. It's a ProFlex suspension, which is a full rally car suspension. What it means is that Pavara's car, rather than going sideways, is pretty neutral on the road and gets most of its power to the ground. Now, by comparison, the Formula 2 cars put their power to the ground through the front wheels. Darren Crozier's Corolla, for example, puts out almost the same amount of horsepower as the big Holden Utility, but it has to put it out through these wheels only, which are also the steer wheels. On the very, very slippery rally roads of Western Australia, that makes this car probably the hardest to drive of all. Now, if you really want to put traction to the ground, you use the Group N or the World Rally cars. Both of them are four-wheel drive. Both of them, like Neil Bates' Corolla, put their traction to the ground through both front and rear wheels. Now, the Group N cars, like Cody Crocker and Ed Ordinsky, put out about 270 horsepower, and this car, Neil Bates' car, is limited by regulation to only 300 horsepower. The trick, however, is the torque they produce. The Group N cars produce about 400 newton-metres of torque. Neil Bates' rally car produces just on 600 newton-metres of torque. That means despite how sophisticated this car is, it's grabbing for traction every time in every corner.
Well, put it all together and you've got one heck of a contest in the Respect Yourself Forest Rally. Two of the leading Group N competitors here, Stuart Reid and further up the trail, Dean Herridge, and they took part along with everybody else in the first 2 night stages on Friday.
The first 2 stages were built for crowd appeal, a 1.5-kilometre bitumen dash driven twice in pitch darkness. Short track spectator stages are usually little more than a diversion, but Neil Bates was taking these ones seriously. Inside his truck were Formula 1 style tyre warmers. Banned in World Championship rallies, they're legal here. So with his tyres preheated, Bates blitzed Possum Bourne, 3 seconds faster on the first pass. Behind them, Queensland production star Stuart Reid laid down 2 identical laps to beat both Cody Crocker and Ed Ordinsky. Ordinsky also set 2 identical times, just 1 second a lap behind Reid.
It's a great little stage. You know, it's important with these city stages that it's not a little Mickey Mouse thing. It's allows the car to stretch its legs a bit.
Bates had buffed his Michelin tyres down to the minimum allowable tread depth, creating in effect a race tyre from a rally pattern. On the second pass, it worked to good effect. He took a second off his previous best, a neat 1 minute around the tricky course. Bourne's new car has a 6-speed sequential gearbox, and Bourne hadn't used it in competition before. He miscued a change and spun out.
I spun and I lost the gears and I couldn't figure out how to get it all working. New car.
To lose cost Bourne a massive 16 seconds. Combined with his stage 1 time, he'd carry a 19-second deficit into the forest. Too big a gap for what essentially should have been a run in the park. For the Corolla team, it was a perfect start, both on the road and psychologically.
20 seconds is sort of a reasonable amount of time, but I think we'll need it tomorrow. It's going to be a long, tough day tomorrow, but it's obviously a very good way to start, and we're very happy. The Michelin's worked exceptionally well around here, and I think that Ed was very quick as well on the Michelin, so a good advantage to us.
Surprisingly difficult start for the defending champion Possum Bourne, but he hadn't lost sight of the big picture, as we found out later that night.
Possum, chasing number 6. Are you still hungry, still excited?
Absolutely, and we got a new car to do it with, so the challenge is greater to try and learn to drive that, and the guys to look after it, and you know, get the whole package to work. So there's plenty there to play for.
Well, that's the next question, actually. Tell us about Yuha's old car, for want of a better term.
It's a World Rally car, 2000 model, XRAC, where Yuha came 5th in it. So we like that because it seems to finish. And it really, we got it as it was. So we had to rebuild it because he'd run into a pile of logs. And that sort of put our time frame back a lot. So that the first real decent test we had was today at the shakedown. So we're just lacking miles, and I'm not used to the car, and we had a bit of, spin tonight just solely because I'm not used to the car. So, but we'll get there.
Well, Craig Vincent's back too, but not just yet.
That's right. Craig's a huge friend and a huge help to running the car. His company, Vantage Aluminium Joinery, helps support the thing, and he's just about got on top of all his workload, and he'll step back in the car for the Super Series. Mark will do this first round, and Rally Australia, and Canberra. So, they both get a good go.
Group N much stronger this year. Now, obviously, one slip was proven last year, and they can actually win a leg at least. So that's got to be an extra factor, particularly if things aren't going well during a weekend.
That's right. I mean, I think they're actually going very, very fast. That thing at Cody's is very quick now, and I think he should do a pretty good job. But see, Ed's picked his game up. You've got Martin Lintop with Cody's car from last year, so in his testing, he's been about a second and a half a K faster than he was before, so he'll be quicker. Dean should be quicker. I think that's fantastic. That class is really starting to grow now, but that's what we need. The championship's building. It's a bit like the V8 supercars were back when we just had Brock and Johnsonville, Brock and Moffat. As the young people that watch the sport looked at it, had a dream about being involved, maybe 5,000 or 6,000 of them, as it comes through, and the dream becomes a reality for the very few good guys with the talent, we now have a field growing, and I think the same thing will happen with rallying.
You've won this event 4 times. Obviously, you enjoy it a bit.
Oh yeah, there's something about WA. I love the place, and I've spent more time here than I've spent anywhere else in Australia, so it's sort of like my second home, if you like, because when we were doing Rally Australia every year, we used to come for about 2 months and spend a lot of time here, so we know everybody. But I like the weather, I like the place, but I've got a feel of the roads that seems to work for me, and it's just getting that combination of the new car and my feel of the road and everything to click sometime tomorrow, and then we'll be away.
Given all those circumstances, how important is it, with a view to the championship, that you start well, that this round is good?
It's everything. If we look at last year at One Metre Championship, that I came out of the box fiery, nailed this one, and nailed the last one, and we had a big battle in the middle. So it's pretty important from my point of view, that's for sure.
And it's going to be a formidable year because, once again, you're defending the Asia-Pacific Championship. You've got 2 World Championship rounds to contend with, New Zealand and Australia. So a lot to think about in between.
Yeah, but driving the car or doing your job is the best thing you can do to improve your speed. And as we get better cars, it's great to see how you compare against the World Championship teams. We don't spend anywhere near the time on them that they do, and we don't have the budgets, but it's great to see how close you can get. And if we can get within a second of K of them, spot on. That's what we're like, To me, that's as good as winning. I just love the sport. I think it's a great sport. I like the camaraderie of it, how, you fight in the car, and out of the car, everybody sort of gets on and has a good time, and the prize given, everybody's talking to one another. And that just doesn't happen in some other sports, and I think that's to their disadvantage or sad for them, because when you're doing something you really enjoy doing, the sharing of that with friends is the best thing you can have.
Well, keep doing it, mate. Good luck and thanks for your time.
Spot on, thank you.
Welcome back as we continue the Respect Yourself Forest Rally, and Neil Bates finds himself in a remarkable position. After only 2 very short stages, this is evidence of how dramatically a rally can turn. He has a 19-second lead to take into the forest for the first time in the remainder of Heat 1.
Neil Bates couldn't wait to get the Corolla into the forest, starting stage 3 of Heat 1 with a 19-second lead after the 2 street stages in Busselton the night before. The Subaru team spent the morning service fine-tuning the Impreza suspension and gear shift, and the results were staggering. Well, that's the first stage out of the way on Heat 1. We're in the Brockman stage at the moment. It's a 20k slide through the gravel. This is where tyres count for everything. Now, Possum Ball must be finding some form in that new Subaru of his. He took 14 seconds off Neil Bates.
Oh, we're at the end of that one. That's better. No too big a muck-up, so I think we got a bit of a slow leaking puncher on the left rear, but other than that, it feels real good.
Everything felt fine. Yeah, we'll just have to try a bit harder, obviously.
Bates never doubted the new Subaru would be fast, but finding that extra speed proved elusive for the Toyota star. Possum streaking through stage 4, 8 seconds faster than the Corolla. By the next service, Bates was already working on Plan B.
Hopefully they, might have a fault or something, I don't know, but we'll hope for something.
I put a different gear lever on it that I've been waiting for, which makes it further away from me, because it was sort of like a bit tangled up in the change, and that's made it a lot easier.
New cars for both of the 2 Group N hotshots, but on stage 3, Subaru's Cody Crocker had stolen 7 seconds off Mitsubishi's Ed Ordinsky, and by the 4th, high anxiety for the Adelaide star when he felt the clutch slip, a problem that cost him 18 seconds on the Subaru. The rest of the day would see Ordinsky enjoying more slide than he would have liked.
It's nurse it through the day and try and bring it through the day, try and drive at a good average speed, keep the road speed up and not put too much stress on the clutch.
I got a good feel for the car, and the car felt great after the 3rd stage. So I thought, well, we'll keep going at that and see if we can just keep the pressure on.
For Queensland Group N contender Stuart Reid, he had the will, but not a lot of power from the Lancer Evo 6.
We've checked everything we can, hoses, air filter, all that sort of stuff. There's no problem there, so we've just got our fingers crossed that it's not the turbo.
The Subarus may have wanted a breather after such a strong start, but Neil Bates didn't plan on getting angry, just even. He belted the Corolla out of stage 5 to claim back 2 seconds from Possum, the Toyota's new Michelins finding renewed grip on WA's gravel. That may have been just enough to put the wind up a Possum, because on stage 6, the Subaru hit and didn't miss.
Long, narrow, 5-6 left. Don't cut entry. 30. Oh.
What the fuck was that?
I think it was a log. 50.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, strut's taken out the top.
Possum's new Impreza was definitely made for tougher stuff. The damaged strut could be replaced, but it would be a frantic 20-minute service. With seconds to spare, but the bump had cost the reigning champ nearly 2 minutes, dropping to 5th outright, and that put Neil Bates way out in front, a 33-second lead over Crocker.
Obviously I was very happy, and then we were going 110% on the last stage as well, and we came across his dust. I was probably lucky, probably saved me from a big crash or something. But
Ironically, Subaru's Cody Crocker almost did a Possum, catching the same rut in the stage.
This is our TCA, or lower control arm. The wheel sits about here, and what's happened is we hit the culvert and bent just a little bit, slight bend just here, and so it's pulled the wheel back a little bit, so the wheel will actually be towing out, which makes it hard to drive on the road.
Japanese Group N driver Yamaguchi emerging from stage 6 after literally a close shave with a barbed wire fence.
I was ducking at the time, because imagine what it can do to your head.
stages remaining and nearly 2 minutes on Possum. Neil Bates wasn't about to take any risks, but Bourne was in the mood to play catch-up. Next stage, he stripped 20 seconds off the Corolla and then a mind-blowing 35 seconds off Bates in the 8th stage. But by the final service, and with just 10 race Ks to go, Possum conceded it would take a lose or a mechanical problem for the Toyota car for him to get the lead again.
No, but you try anyway. That's all you can do. You never know, you might get a puncture or something like that, so you just keep the heat on and hope like anything that it goes your way.
The day was also ending anything but the way it started for Cody Crocker. Stage 7, he blew a tyre, lost more than 3 minutes and dropped behind Ordinsky with that troublesome clutch. But Subarus would have blitzed through the final 2 stages, and time was not on their side, however, in overall placings. Neil Bates taking Heat 1, 45 seconds ahead of Possum.
Incredibly dusty. I don't think you'll find very many happy competitors behind Possum somehow. Like, if it's going to be that dusty, they should run it earlier in the day or something. Like, the sun's shining in and you cannot see a thing. It's incredibly dangerous.
It was a 3rd outright and class win for Ed Ordinsky. Cody Crocker hoping for a less action-packed Heat 2. Local boy Dean Herridge arriving home for 5th, proving his new Les Walken WRX is capable of giving the 2 factory boys a nudge. But first points for the 2001 ARC Super Series on the board for Neil Bates and Team Toyota.
So after a dramatic day of rallying where fortunes changed from stage to stage, John Smales caught up with some of the competitors.
Yeah, obviously we're incredibly happy to come away with a win today. He was a tad quicker, but he had some problems and we were able to capitalise on that, so that's superb.
Huge highs and huge lows with a couple of frights. You know, that's just the way it is. You're learning to drive a new car. It has different handling characteristics to what you're used to. The gear change is different, the brakes are different, everything's different. So and you've got to push it to find where the limit is, and then as your confidence grows to what it'll do in certain situations, then you're starting to push harder and harder and harder.
It's never good when you get a flat tyre, and we don't really know what we hit. That's the frustrating part. Like if you went off and hit a stump or something and punctured the tyre, and you'd sort of feel justified in having a flat tyre. And we got it 5 Ks into the stage and we had to change it. So yeah, it was on the front, and you can't run more than about 5 or 10 kilometres on a flat tyre on the front, because it not only damages the guard when the tread starts coming off, it actually damages all the wiring loom as well. And then we actually did that in Coffs Harbour last year, and actually made the wipers go on and things like that because the loom was getting all damaged and shorting out. So made sure we stop and change it, which we had 20 Ks to go on the stage, so we had to change it.
It's fair to say I've probably driven more cars without clutches than anybody else in the field, except maybe Possum. So yeah, I mean, it is experience like that. But, you know, that's the way things go. We had punctures last year. Cody had a puncture this year. We were never really there on our own speed because, you know, we drove all day with problems barring the first stage, but you should just never give up.
Welcome back to the heart of the service park here in the Respect Yourself Forest Rally, where the hard-working mechanics are keeping these cars on the road. Of course, they can't all be at the pointy end of the field. There are a variety of competitors out there for a variety of reasons.
How's this for a comparison? The biggest car in the event, Steve Winwood's Ford Falcon, 200 kilowatts, weighs just on 1,500 kilograms. And the smallest car in the event, Andrew Hannigan's Daihatsu Charade, 930 kilograms, puts out 117 kilowatts of power. What makes these 2 cars almost equal? The fact that both of them have won their class in Respect Yourself Forest Rally. Multiple Aussie car category winner Steve Winwood's XR8 Falcon is to contest the entire 2001 title. His major competition, the defending champion Paul Pavera in a BS Commodore Ute. But South Australia's Andrew Krieg and Tasmania's super spectacular Dave Thompson are not to be discounted. All but Thompson took stage wins in Perth, but Tomo's exuberant style won the crowd. Pavara was more down in the mouth than the dummy dogs he carries in the Ute's tray. He had fuel feed problems on leg 1, but recovered to finish second to a hard-charging Winwood. On leg 2, the usually reliable Ute lasted just 1 stage, a victim of deteriorating road conditions.
But this morning, again, the rough terrain, we got a puncture and then destroyed a diff, so that put us out for today.
Winwood and co-driver Lofty Drews took both legs and finished in the top 10 outright on leg 2. the South Australian happy to be back after almost a year's absence.
We were a bit rusty yesterday. Lofty and I, my co-driver, said that, you know, we're a bit off the pace, and we just picked up the groove, and just the stage times have been tumbling down, so it's great.
Sydney to Hobart yacht race winner Warwick Rooklyn came to Perth full of hope. Driving the ex-Rick Bates Formula 2 championship winning Daihatsu, he and co-driver Linda Long were equal fastest on stage 1 and won the next 2 stages on the gravel and in the forest. Then mechanical and electrical problems set in. On leg 2, the car stopped terminally before it could reach the first stage of the day.
It's always frustrating. It always hurts. It's the first big event. You've spent 4 months of your life pulling this, you know, putting the whole thing together. You drive from Sydney to Perth. You've got the whole team here. You know, the sponsors are behind you. And, you know, you're leading the deal. You're feeling comfortable. And for me, also, I'm trying to learn and gain experience. And, you know, and I wasn't able to do that.
For Perth youngster Andrew Hannigan, Rooklyn's withdrawal was both a gift and a frustration. Driving a similar car, but with far less development, the young talent won both Formula 2 legs from strong local opposition. But he'd been keen to match himself against Rooklyn's benchmark.
Warwick on the bitumen in Bustleton was very quick. The first stage on Saturday morning set a really good time and had us a bit worried, but it was unfortunate that he didn't get to run for the rest of the day, because we would have enjoyed the competition.
And the top West Australian, if you discount Dean Herridge, who these days drives for Tasmanian Les Walkden, Alex Stone and co-driver Diana Madlena were brilliantly consistent to claim 8th and 7th outright across the 2 legs in their production Subaru.
Well, one of the big stories pre-season was that Ed Ordinsky was going to expand his operation to 2 cars, but who would be behind the wheel?
Under pressure.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I think they were looking for a package in a person, not just someone who could drive a car fast, but someone who would present themselves well to the media. Naturally, they had to be quick.
Maybe the 3rd time we'll get it right.
Right the 3rd time,
Yeah, it was good. Good experience to drive someone else's car for a change, and didn't have to worry about it with Bennett. I don't know if he had to fix it.
Did you come close, or?
No. Just kept it on the road. Didn't want to make too many mistakes. Just concentrate on what we had to do on the day.
It's every young rally driver's dream, that elusive works team contract with someone else picking up the bills. A rare deal in Australian rallying, so when Mitsubishi Rally Art decided it was time to search for their own equivalent of Subaru's Cody Crocker, the shortlist came down to 7 young hotshots: Dean Herridge, Spencer Lowndes, Marty Becton, Stephen Shepherd, David Hills, Scott Pedder and Mark Thompson. The prize, a seat in a 2nd Group N car alongside Ed Ordinsky.
I'm happy with those 7s, those right 7s. I attacked a little bit more, and I think that's where we made up a bit more time than that where we lost in the hairpin.
I was actually initially very nervous until I got in the car and actually started driving.
Happened then. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so that one didn't go too well.
No. I felt like the car cut out under brakes.
Well, I guess if they lock up,
yeah, I know.
They restart.
Yeah.
The wheels won't turn again.
That's right.
More nervous about, you know, putting the car off, because although they said the times weren't important, I sort of knew that they would be in the end. So, and to drive I've never driven a Group N car before, so that was a bit of a new thing for me.
But the nuts okay?
Yeah, no, they were good. I know I'm not your favourite driver so far, but no, they're coming up fine.
Quick run with Ed, just to get a bit of a feel for the car. So white-knuckle terror to make sure we didn't destroy his car, and then just went for 3 hot laps, you might say, over the period of the afternoon. So, like I said, we weren't told very much, and that's probably a good thing. We weren't sort of trying to get times on each other or anything like that. But no, it was a good day had by all, and like I said, for us now, it's probably a good opportunity to see exactly what Mitsubishi might have up their sleeve for this year.
Our last phone call to Rally Art had the deal still in the hands of the Japanese rice counters, but Bob Riley is confident it will happen, and soon.
We could have started, and maybe if we ran out of funds, we would have finished early, and I think it's better to start late and finish properly at the end of the year, because Rally Australia is an important rally for
the rally community and all the sponsors.
And as for those waiting by the phone, ambition can try anyone's patience.
The notes aren't a problem. It's the notes aren't a problem at all. It's just, I suppose it's just nerves, you know.
I suppose that is the ultimate goal. I suppose the ultimate goal for anyone is to win the Australian Championship. Doesn't matter what sort of class you're in, that's always the big aim. And obviously that is the biggest aim, is to not have to pay for your rally.
We're back and ready to return to the forests in the Respect Yourself Forest Rally. Heat 2, they're lining up, the drivers on their way.
Leg 2 started badly for Possum Bourne. A rear tyre had deflated in overnight lockup and he was forced to make an unscheduled change. Tyres were going to be critical. Leg 2 used the same rally stages as Leg 1. That meant that the roads had already been swept by 64 competing cars. They'd be faster, but also more cut up. With the weather cool, Bates chose a soft compound tyre. They'd grip better, but wear more quickly. Bourne went for a medium compound Pirelli. In fact, his crew said he'd run out of softs. It didn't matter. In an awesome display of maximum attack driving, Bourne demolished the first stage. Over 20 kilometres, he was 25 seconds faster than his time the previous day. More importantly, he was 31 seconds quicker than the Corolla. It was a graphic demonstration of the true potential of the new Subaru World Rally car. On the next stage, Bates fought back. In 13 kilometres, he was 13 seconds behind. The news still wasn't good, but it was better.
Last stage was good, no problems at all. But we're obviously not going quick enough. Possum's a lot quicker than us this morning. We've got a leak out of the central hydraulic box, which they're just fixing now, but you know, I don't believe that's contributing to the times at all.
Oh, we had a good run. We went for it to try and build some time in case we have a drama or something like that, and it went very well for us.
The rally-out Mitsubishi team had fixed Ed Ordinsky's clutch, although some doubt still hung over the cause. Nonetheless, Ordinsky, like Bourne, went on attack. He took 14 seconds off his previous time on stage 1, a huge margin, but it didn't buy him a buffer. Cody Crocker was just 2 seconds slower, and the news that the Lancer was faster fired up the Subaru driver. Crocker won stage 2, 1 second up on Ordinsky.
Yesterday was a much better day until early on it was.
Yeah.
But today, yeah, it's a lot tougher. It's going a bit harder, and he's got no clutch problems, obviously, and that made the difference yesterday. So it was hard to tell our time difference yesterday. It was hard to work out.
That's the great strength of the group and category. You know, it is very, very close. It gives teams the opportunities to run that close. I just hope we can stay in there, and I'm sure Cody's thinking the same thing.
Damn it, it's 1 second, so I've got to do some work. Got to work harder.
Driving leg 1 for half a stage on a buckled wheel had done deeper damage to Stuart Reid's Lancer. The car was pulling violently to the right, but with no way of fixing it, Reid opted for an all-or-nothing strategy. In 2 stages, he muscled his way 13 seconds ahead of Dean Heritage's Subaru and to within striking distance of Ordinsky and Crocker. But the problem was getting worse.
When you accelerate, it actually steers violently to the right. First we thought we might have a small shaft in the inside of the front diff might be broken from driving on the flat tyre yesterday, but we've now had some time to check that, and now we don't think it is that. So the only other thing it may be is maybe one of the small sun gears in the inside of the front diff. If that's the case, then we'll just have to hope that we get to the end.
The next set of 2 stages covered 29 kilometres. With no service allowed and with the ambient temperature rising, a harder tyre compound was in order to ensure durability. Bates was now also on maximum attack. His driving was inspired, but over the 2 stages, he was still 24 seconds off Bourne's amazing pace. The speed differential between the pair, however, had reduced to 0.8 seconds a kilometre. On the stages, the Corolla's corner speed seemed equal to that of the Subaru. It was on the straights that the Subaru was markedly faster. It's a challenge the Toyota team will need to address before the East Coast events. Cody Crocker took time back from Ed Ordinsky, moving 2 slender seconds into the lead. For Dean Heritage, a gift from Stuart Reid. Forced to charge in on the rim, Reid lost the early morning gap he'd built up. Heritage pressed the advantage to take the next stage. halfway through day 2, and Reed led the privateers by just 1 second, while Crocker headed the production cars by only 2. Upcoming was Marlowe's, the hardest stage of all. Everyone knew it was going to be pivotal.
This is probably the best one for us to attack on. I think Brockman's long. There's 2 long ones left. This is the one we've got to go hard on. Brockman's doesn't quite suit us, so this one will make or break the day, I think.
We're back as the battle continues on the timber trails around Nannup, the final stages of the Respect Yourself Forest Rally.
It's at this particular point of any rally, tyres count for everything, and for most teams it's a question of conservation, but the top teams are never ones to tread warily. A rethink by the Bates team, and Neil would go forth on softer compound tyres for the final 3 stages of Heat 2. The next stage of 28 kilometres through timber plantations was always going to be challenging. Possumbourne's dust curtain was still hanging beyond the Bates Corolla, and with a 1 minute 8 second lead, Bourne was almost treating this stage as a joyride. He collected another 16 seconds off his rival.
Got about a minute 24 lead, which is fantastic. I mean, unbelievable. We didn't think we'd get that, but now it's all about just rhythm, drive fast, but no risk.
It's not over yet, although, you know, he has got a very substantial lead at the moment, but we'll just keep going and anything can happen in the next couple of stages. But, you know, as long as we're there to finish, the worst could happen. As long as we finish second, is we end up equal for the weekend, which would still be a good result.
The second last stage was another 28k run to test the concentration, and Bates made it as much about mind as muscle to give it all he had to come within 6 seconds of catching the Subaru. By now, Possum had only to keep it steady and bring it home on the final stage. So Heat 2 going to the super fast Subaru.
That's what it's all about. You got to take the initiative, push a bit, find what the limit of you and the car is as a package and work with it.
That's probably my weakest event to come out of that equal first in the championship. We're going to be pretty happy with the weekend.
As usual, there were more twists and turns in the script for Group N. Going into the last 3 stages, Cody Crocker had a slim 2-second lead over Ed Ordinsky. The young gun of Subaru obviously not comfortable with that margin, pushing harder in the 2 longer stages to widen that gap to 9 seconds. But Ed's rally was far from finished, clocking a time 3 seconds faster than Cody on the final stage, but not enough to collect the points for a second heat win. At the finish, Crocker calling it square for the weekend.
Yesterday we had the tyre, which meant we had to chase all day. We fortunately got back to second, so if Ed's just where we think he should be, then it could be a drawn weekend, which would be fantastic.
Not everyone enjoyed such a happy ending. You can only feel for Queensland privateer Stuart Reed. 5 flats in the one event, including one on the very last stage to add insult to injury for a disappointing 18th finish.
Yeah, in the long stage and in this one now we've got no spare, so I don't know what we're going to do, to be honest.
Now, there wasn't a bigger smile under the helmet than WA's Dean Herridge, absolutely wrapped with his new Subaru to finish 5th outright.
I mean, this is the first step for us with the Les Walkton team, so things are only going to get better from here. Good start for us.
Car feeling good?
It is. It feels fantastic, actually, and once we get a bit more power out of it, and like I said, the season progresses, we hope to be even up there with Cody and Ed.
So after 262 competitive kilometres over 2 days of kicking up the dust in Western Australia, both World Rally Car teams head home with equal points, having won a heat each, and equal showing too for Group N battalion leaders Cody Crocker and Ed Ordinsky.
So a remarkable finish. This round lived up to all expectations. The first round of the Australian Rally Championship, and John Smales is with the winners.
Equal 3rd and 1st in production class over the weekend, Ed Ordinsky and Ian Stewart. Congratulations yesterday, Ed. Absolutely sensational with a blown clutch, and still you won.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. You know, it's one of those times when you just keep on trying regardless. We would have considered ourselves lucky to finish yesterday, let alone take the win. So a fantastic weekend.
Been a masterful drive from Ed.
Oh, he went very, very well. Not easy without a clutch, I can assure you.
And also in first place yesterday in the production car class, in the first place today in the production car class, is Cody Crocker and Greg Folletta, thereby equaling the weekend for yourselves with the Mitsubishi team. Sensational result.
Yeah, today was damn hard, I've got to say, because the last few stages there was only 2 seconds in it, and fortunately we got a little bit of a jump, but it was pretty tough. It's going to be a tough year if it's like that.
Cody, in fact, Ed put a bit of a scare up here this morning. He won the first stage, but you fought back and you came into your straps only towards the end of the day.
Oh, I was driving about as hard as I could all day, I think, but I think just we sorted a few things out with the car, just little problems that we had, and got a bit more pace during the end of the day, but it was just hard work.
call it, Greg. What was the ride like?
Oh, it was awesome. It's absolutely inspirational. I can't speak highly enough of what Cody's been doing this weekend. It's just first time out this year. I was amazed.
Outright was equally sensational. The winners yesterday were Neil Bates and Coral Taylor in the Toyota Corolla. That was a great start to the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, we're very happy to come out of here with even points. I always consider this as my weakest event, and I think maybe they should replace it with a nice twisty tarmac one or something. But yeah, no, we're very, very happy, and you know, it's a great start to the championship, and the car ran faultlessly, and it was incredibly reliable, strong, and we couldn't fault it.
Coral, you can consolidate it on it this year?
Yes, certainly, and I think, you know, we always knew that this was going to be a tough year, as have the years past, and it's a close fight, it's a tough fight, and you've got to just keep working really, really hard to get a win.
Thank you. Possum Bourne won today, came second yesterday. Possum, a brand new car, a few teething problems yesterday, but it's really coming together now.
Yeah, the car's all right. It's the driver that's got the teething problems. It's like anything, when you get something new, it takes a bit of effort to learn it, and you've got to take a breath and push on so you can find out what it's going to do and when it gets away from you and what its characteristics are, and the only way to do that is have a go, and we did that, and we got away with it most of the time, but not once.
And Stace, for you, riding alongside Possum in the new car, just how much faster is it than the car from last year?
It seems a lot faster to me. It's the car's a little louder outside and inside, and the noise just makes it all that more, more fun, more experience. But it's a new car, a few problems, but having a professional driver like Possum, it's fantastic. Come to grips with it. Crew fixed it up quickly, and we're underway. Fantastic.
Poss, it's going to be a sensational year.
Oh yes. Absolutely. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. This is generally our strongest event, so it looks like the things will even up a bit when we get to Canberra and Queensland and all the rest, so it's going to be a good old fight, I think.
Coming up, the victory champagne, and it's going to be poured by no fewer than 4 of the teams. All right. Away you go, guys.
Very nice. Well, a busy podium there. There's a lot of people packed, and that gives you an idea on just how close this championship is likely to be in 2001. Let's have a look through the heat results firstly, and this is why we have so many people up there. Neil Bates and Coral Taylor winning the first heat by 50 seconds from Bourne and Stacey. Now, Ordinsky managed to win the first round against Cody Crocker, so there are 2 great duels that you'll see continue throughout the season, but also good drives from Dean Herridge and Stewie Reid. Now, in Heat 2, we had the reversed results. Bourne and Stacey beating Bates and Taylor by 1:35. Now, Crocker managed to beat Ordinsky this time. Again, Dean Herridge coming up close. Great drive from Alex Stone and Deanna Madliner. That is a tremendous performance to get 6th in this rally. Now, points overall. Bourne and Bates on 36 each. Crocker and Ordinsky on 26 each. And then Dean Herridge, consistent drive across the weekend, puts him in 5th place on the table, ahead of Tolly Chalice and John Guazdaway. Now, looking ahead in the world of rally, the Subaru Rally of Canberra, May 4 and 6. Get down there or watch it on Network 10. It'll be a great weekend. And the Australian Rally Championships next round is the Falcon Tyres Rally Queensland. That's June 16 and 17. We hope you've enjoyed the Respect Yourself Forest Rally, round 1 of what should be a great championship. Bye for now.